Hey, what's good, everybody? And welcome to another episode of Black Side of Liberty with your man, Governor Wildstar. That's me. You know who I am, right? Welcome, freedom fighters, to another episode of Black Side of Liberty. Today, we're going to be talking to one of my good friends. You know, I know him personally, but I want you guys to get to know him, and I'm going to do my best to, not be so biased during this interview, since he is, again, like I said, a really good friend of mine. And I want to introduce all of you beings of light, art, culture, and knowledge to him. Welcome, Dan Behrman. What's up, Dan?
What's going on, man? How's it going?
What's up, Dan? Taxation and stuff. He wearing his hat too, y'all. Wearing the taxation.
Yeah, my shirt.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Always, man.
This stuff is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. I want to introduce you guys to him. He is a candidate running for president of the United States on the Libertarian ticket. So, Dan, welcome to the show. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks,
man. Thank you. Real quick, if you could just, introduce yourself to the people, man. Who the fuck are you? I mean, that's what they want to know.
All right. Well, I like to say I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I got to Texas as fast as I could, and I identify as a Texan. But now I'm running for president of the United States from down here in Mexico. As you can see, I've got the jungle behind me, a little bit of a rainstorm going on. I changed my middle name to Taxation is Theft because that's how much I hate taxes. And I did it without, people asked, did I go to the court? Did I ask, please change my name? No, it's my name, not theirs. I changed it by declaration. I didn't ask them for permission because free men don't ask for permission.
Right about that. I like how you say that, man, because that's what I actually do. You know what I mean? I call myself Governor Wildstar because shit, that's who I am. I govern me. Nobody's going to tell me otherwise. And not to mention, I did go through the process of swearing in, to become a candidate. And a lot of people don't know that when you're running for office, you actually get sworn in, before you're elected. So you're technically a representative. You're just not an elected representative. Do they do the same thing for you as a candidate for president?
No, well, the Libertarian Party asks you to sign an oath to their principle, their statement of principles, I guess. Yeah. Basically saying you endorse the non-aggression principle and that sort of thing. So it's not really an oath. I mean, it's kind of an oath. I guess it is. So I did that. I did that under the name Taxation is Theft, Dan Taxation is Theft Behrman. And that's really that's the thing, right? And this keeps coming up with Muhammad Ali too, right? Because a lot of people talk about him changing his name and I'm not going to call him that. Like, it's the same thing. And then, it's like, whose name is it? Is it mine or is it theirs? And so, according to the law, there's actually a process where, they'll call it an alias, right? Like if you get if a lot of people know this one, you get arrested and you give them a different name, I'm Tater Salad, that guy. They write that down as your alias, also known as AKA, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a lawful alias. And it's not just for people who get arrested. Celebrities use this too. You can call up the phone company and say let's see, I'm Brad Pitt and I don't want people to find me in the phone book. And I don't even want AT&T to know who I am. So I'm going to give them a fake name. And when they come to set up the phone, you just give them this, this other name that you have, and it becomes your alias that nobody knows you by. You can check into hotels with it, you can travel with it, you can do so much. And it's not like you have to go to the government and say, I want an alias. You just start using it. And as long as you're not using someone else's name, which would be, a type of fraud or identity theft, there's nothing wrong with it. That's just how free people act. It's a name. It's what's really interesting is in Spanish, they don't say what is your name, right? They say ¿Cómo se llama? What do they call you? Right. They call me Dan Taxation is Theft Behrman.
I like that. So, Mr. Taxation is Theft, let me ask you this. Why is the message of taxation is theft so damn important? I mean, what does that even mean? I mean, because you got a lot of brainwashed people out there that just think they supposed to be paying their taxes. It fixes the roads. It pays for schools and, police officers and this whole infrastructure deal. So
Right.
if taxation is theft, that's going to offend, I guess, those brainwashed people that don't know no better. So please explain what taxation is what taxation is theft is and what it means, please.
Absolutely. So it's fundamentally we have to look at what is taxation, right? It's basically the idea that you're going to pay for something that the government is going to do. Now, that in itself sounds fine, right? Because everyone benefits from the roads and whatever else, police, fire departments, and these other things, public schools, we all benefit. And so the idea is, okay, we can all pay for it a little bit, and that's fine. The problem is, how is that money collected? That money is collected by a way that says, if you don't pay it, something's going to happen. If you don't pay it, we're going to take it by force. We're going to go into your bank accounts. We're going to tell your employer to just start taking money off the top, which actually they do by default when you have like a regular, over the table job. So it's this threat that if you don't pay it, they're going to come and take it. And if they come and take it and you say, no, I don't want to give it to you, and you resist, well, then they're going to arrest you. And if you resist the arrest, there's a very good chance they're going to kill you. So, or hurt you in other ways and force the arrest on you. That's the escalation. Now, of course, they do this on purpose. This isn't by accident. They do this because they know the general public will say, oh, well, he was only arrested because he put up a fight. He was shooting at the police officers that came to get him. Well, yeah, but they came to get him because they were trying to take his money and he didn't want to give it up. Well, yeah, but if he would just pay his taxes like everybody, yeah, but why? Why should everyone have to pay their taxes? It's a threat. I mean, think about it. If you had the option, if everyone told you, hey, you know what? If you don't pay your taxes, nothing's going to happen. How many of your taxes would you pay? How many taxes do you know you're paying? Because a lot of people just know the income tax, right? Would you pay your property tax? Would you pay your sales tax? Would you pay your gas tax? Would you pay your cell phone bill tax, your water tax, all these other taxes that you pay? And when I say water tax, that's a tax on top of the service of the water coming to your house. That's usually provided by another company. They put a tax on top of that. So you're paying for more than just the water. You're paying for a tax.
I was in California, so I'm very well
taxes on top of taxes,
and the taxes on top of the taxes. It's ridiculous.
It's insane.
Double dipping taxes we have here in the state of California, as I'm sure there are throughout the entire nation. So you're absolutely right with a lot of people feeling threatened by not paying taxes, even though there is no law saying that they have to pay taxes.
That's true too.
But it's being enforced by the federal government. So I know that's a very important message with you for you with taxation is theft, as well as the many ramifications that come from that. So what's one of the first things that you would actually do if you were elected president?
Oh, we're getting rid of the IRS. And then we're going on to the DEA because we have to end the drug war, which is absolute nonsense. Then we're going to pardon a bunch of nonviolent offenders out of prison who shouldn't have been there in the first place. That's anybody who's been charged with possession of cannabis or any of these other substances. And I mean, a lot of people here, like, yeah, if you're in jail for possession of cocaine or heroin or anything else, you don't deserve to be there. I mean, if anything, if the war on drugs is true, and like what they're saying is there's this epidemic of drugs coming in and these vicious drug dealers, if you're in possession of a small amount, you're a victim of the drugs because you've gotten addicted to it, whatever. That's the story in the propaganda. You don't deserve to be in prison for that. If they really cared about anybody, they would just be going after the dealers, and that would be it. They wouldn't be putting people in prison for simple possession for use, because these are the people they're trying to protect, right? Oh, drugs are gonna ruin your life, so instead we're going to arrest you and put you in jail and give you a criminal history and ruin your life. Mm-hmm. Makes absolutely no sense. It's total bullshit. But the reason it's there is, of course, for revenue collection, and the government has to have something to do, right? Because we pay them all these taxes. Well, you know, when people going back to your original question, well, what about like the police and the roads and everything else? Well, they have to look like they're doing something with the money, right? But of course, 90 to 95% of the money that we give them just goes in a few the one percenters' pockets. You know, they keep that money for themselves, or they contract it out to all their military industrial complex friends and everything else. So sorry, I went on a tangent there. Ending the drug war, absolutely. We're going to get rid of some agencies like the ATF, which is, you know, that's basically the agency that sells all the guns to Mexico, to the cartels. We're going to get rid of the CIA, who basically works on sabotaging countries abroad. They're the reason that there are terrorists in other countries that want to hate us, because they've been overthrowing their governments and creating enemies for over 100 years. Get rid of the Federal Reserve and get rid of the debt, which is, that's actually a really big one, which I know it's like, it's the government's debt. Who really cares about it? I don't care about it. It's not my debt. I didn't borrow the money, but we want to get America out of debt, because right now 87% of America is in debt. Nobody owns their own home, because even if you have your mortgage paid off, you're still paying property tax and renting it from the government. It's illegal to produce your own food or water, or collect rainwater, or collect solar power. To an extent, it's legal to some degree, but they're still taxing it. In some places it's illegal, or you still have to at least, pay for some of the services that you're not using. It's absolutely insane. And because of this, they're stealing and stealing and stealing from us, and making us dependent on their economy and their system and everything. And here's what's incredible about this. The entire country's payroll, the amount of money that everybody makes, is $8.5 trillion every year. That's a lot of money, right?
Yes, that is.
The government collects in taxes, and I'm talking about the federal income tax, state income taxes, fines from your vehicle registration is late, or you ran a stop sign, all these fines and taxes and everything else.
Right.
We make $8.5 trillion. They make $7.5 trillion out of that $8.5 trillion. Now, here's where it gets even worse. How much money?
All our money, man.
How much money is floating around the country? How much money? Take that money out of your pocket and add up mine and yours and his and everybody else's. How much money is it? $3.5 trillion.
Oh my goodness.
So they're basically taking everything we have times 2 and a little bit more, and they're saying that's theirs. And then they're going to lend it back to us through all these bank programs that they have. But when they lend it to us, they're creating debt. No wonder 87% of the country is in debt. No wonder nobody owns property. And this is why everybody's living paycheck to paycheck. And the reason this is so important, and I've been talking about this for years, but it's we've really just been like, man, they just came by and kicked us in the nuts right now when they said, hey, we're going to shut down the entire economy. And you guys aren't going to have that paycheck to paycheck that you've been depending on. You can't pay your rent. You can't pay your taxes. You can't afford food. You can't go to work. What are you going to do?
Right.
And they just totally screwed all of us.
And that's the thing is, I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because the economic disparities, they affect all of us, no matter what your skin color may be or whatever, they identify you as here in America, and Black people, especially people of color, seem to be targeted or be on the shit end of the stick of, this economic structure here. And you brought up the drug war. That's another big issue that tends to affect people of color. So I want to ask you, what is it that, what is it that you're going to do to win a Black vote? Because I mean, Bloomberg, the Democrats, they target Black people specifically because they know that they're a big voting bloc. The Republicans, they don't really care too much because they focused on more so classism, people that got money, the 1%. So supposedly the Democratic Party is all about the 99%, a great deal of that being the Black population. And that's why, Bloomberg spent hundreds of millions of dollars targeting just the Black
Burned hundreds of millions of dollars.
Hundreds of millions of dollars. Instead of giving that money to actual Black people that could, use that money. Families right now, especially right now, that could have used that money. So since there is this whole, politicians need to focus on getting the Black vote, I myself was even told that. So what are your plans on doing exactly that and accomplishing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this. So I've been calling this plan the New American Dream, and it's really good for everybody. This is the problem. These politicians, and especially the Democrats have, as many times as they come around and say this is really going to be good for the Black community, it really destroys the Black community. You have the crime bill, that was a Clinton bill, and that has basically escalated the number of people, the racial disparities between how many people are going to jail over drug crimes and all this other crap. The Democrats say they care about you, but they don't. All of their programs are hurting you more, and a lot of people are waking up to this. And I think P. Diddy even had it. He made an announcement today or yesterday that was interestingly on that point, and especially. And so let me go back to this plan. So the idea behind this plan is that we need to stop thinking that we need to treat everybody differently and start treating everybody the same. The Democrats act like the Black community needs an extra leg up. They need some extra help, to get ahead or all these other things. No, all you need to do is stop robbing them. I mean, this goes for everybody who's got a low income. I mean, you think it's tough going month to month with the small paycheck? Consider that the government has stolen all of that from you. I mean, if you're able to save up enough and buy a house, they're going to continue to tax that house away from you. And depending on what state you're in, it's different, but anywhere between 30 and 100 years, you're going to have to repay the price of your house over and over again, every 30 to 100 years, depending on your property tax. That's how insane that is. And, they'll come and they'll say, oh, well, we need to tax the wealthy, right? And what do they propose? They propose income taxes. Well, that hurts the poor. They propose taxes on inheritance taxes. Well, think about that one. If you're able to own your property and you have very little income, you own a house, you own some land, and that's it. When you die and you want to pass that to your kids, the government's going to come and take that away. Or you're going to have to sell a piece of it, or your kids are going to have to sell it, and they're going to have to move back into a situation where they rent. Nobody should be renting. America is the wealthiest country in the world. We've got so many houses, and we've got so many abandoned houses. It's just this. It goes back to that same idea that it's just all debt. They've put us into debt. Exactly. They've sold us debt because debt is how the banks make money. And so, of course, the banks make as much of this debt as they possibly can. They give it out like candy. Everybody takes it. Now we're all in debt. We don't own anything. And as soon as we lose our paycheck, that's it. We're done. Yeah. And so right, we need to get out of that.
Right now, our country is being tossed even deeper into debt with this whole borrowing spending deal that the federal government is doing right now with this stimulus package. I personally don't think anybody should be getting a bailout, you know what I mean? Because government does not have the authority to just, give away our money, but it is doing exactly that. I mean, it's exercising many authorities that we, the people, aren't even, approving or condoning, or they even have permission to do.
And it's usually just a distraction. I mean, look, they're giving us $1,200 a month. Or sorry, $1,200 one time. That $1,200, they're giving for every $1,200 they're giving us, they're giving $6,000 to some big corporation. Mm-hmm. This $1,200 is just a distraction. They were never going to give us anything in the first place. They just wanted, how do I give $2 trillion to my friends that own all these big corporations? Well, let's distract everybody by giving them $1,200, and they'll completely ignore the fact that we're giving out $2 trillion. I guarantee you, if they didn't give out that $2 trillion to all their friends, they never would have come up with $1,200 for anybody.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous amount of money. I don't even know how they came up with $1,200. I mean, that's a drop in the bucket for most people, especially in the state of California, where or
New York, or some of the expensive. I mean, if you're out in the middle of Montana, that might be good for a couple weeks, but
right,
yeah.
And so it's good to hear, a candidate actually speak about leveling the playing field, just evenly. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to specifically focus on helping one group of people versus the other if you just focus on, the root of the problem. And like you pointed it out, mainly it's debt. No matter what your income is, debt is digging you deeper into you not being financially secure. Right now, we're seeing that more than ever, and it sounds like this New American Deal, or what you call that?
Yeah, the New American Dream.
Okay, the New American Dream. Yeah, that sounds sort of like my gold New Deal. You know what I'm saying? That I was throwing out during my mayoral campaign, and that is to create some more independence. I think we need to have that more now than ever. Energy independence, banking independence, and some financial, economical independence. You know what I mean?
That's really interesting that you use that word independence. Sorry to cut you off, but like that's really interesting because like dependency is almost like slavery. I mean, we talk about it with when you get an addiction to drugs, right? You become a slave to the drug. When you become addicted to that paycheck, right? I have to get that paycheck. I have to work. I have to get that paycheck, or else I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose everything that I have. You are addicted, and they use that to manipulate you. I mean, think about it. If you got to keep everything that you earn, and if you owned your property and didn't have to pay rent, which is most people's biggest expense, you didn't have to pay all the taxes, which is usually everybody's second biggest expense. If you didn't have any of that, when you earn that paycheck, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. In fact, you could earn that paycheck working for a couple of years and save up enough that if you really want to slim down your lifestyle, you could survive for work 3 years, take 3 years off and have plenty to survive with savings. But here's the thing. When they create a dependence, they want you dependent on that job, right? So you have to work all year, never take a vacation. And so what does this do? I need this job. You're begging for this job. And what does that make you do? I'll take anything. I'll take the minimum wage. I'll take below minimum wage. This is why we have a minimum wage problem. But I mean, look, if people were able to say, hey, you know what? I worked for the last 3 years. I'm going to take 3 years off. In fact, I might start growing my own food in my backyard, so I don't even have to go back after 3 years. Think about it. You're not dependent on that system at all. And now those companies are going to be begging you, okay, fine, we'll pay you $10 an hour. Okay, fine, we'll pay you $20 an hour. They're going to be begging you to go back because they're not going to have anybody to run their factories, to run their restaurants or anything else, because you're simply not going to need the money that much. This is also, it's such a simple thing, but this is also fundamentally the problem with the whole minimum wage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that this whole coronavirus situation is exposing all of that. You know what I mean? And what is even more exposing, since your Mr. Taxation is theft, is that our damn income tax or income shouldn't be taxed at all. They don't need it right now. It wasn't ever any reason for them to be, taking that money from us in the first place. And moving forward, there isn't any reason why our income should be taxed any longer. You know what I mean? So it's crazy to see this coronavirus thing bring a lot of these falsities that we believe about our government to light. And if you were elected president, how would you actually be dealing with this whole coronavirus situation? And moving forward, since this is supposed to be the new norm and the coronavirus will be seasonal and come back every year, moving forward, what is it to be expected about how a president such as yourself should deal with the virus outbreak?
Absolutely. So there's two things. First, the government needs to get out of the way. And second is we need transparency. So let me talk about the government getting out of the way. When this thing first hit, everybody was scrambling for masks, for respirators, for tests, for all these things. And they were all available. But the FDA was saying, no, these aren't approved. There's new manufacturers. These masks that we all need. Well, all these factories that were shutting down because, they were saying it's a non-essential whatever. Guess what? We can retool our factory and make more of these masks, but our factory is not FDA approved. So even though we can produce these masks, we still have to wait several months before we're legally allowed to, and hospitals are legally allowed to buy them and all this other nonsense. So there was that. The same thing happened with tests. In fact, there are coronavirus COVID-19 tests that you can buy on the black market because they're illegal to buy because they're not FDA approved, but they're being produced so you can actually take this test, see if you already have it, see if you already have the antibodies, which means you can't get infected. Maybe we don't know for sure yet. But all of this is the government has been in the way. There's been stuff coming from overseas. Sorry, you can't have it. There's been a lot of doctors who wanted to talk to their patients and have a phone conference over Skype, so they're not meeting face to face. That's illegal. Because of HIPAA compliance and everything. Now, it took them a bit of time, but they finally said, okay, we're gonna waive a lot of these FDA requirements and all these other things, but those things should not have been there in the first place. We also have this other thing, this idea of flattening the curve, right? Oh my God, all these people are gonna get sick and our hospitals are gonna be overwhelmed. Well, here's the thing. You have doctors, you have so many people who are trained enough to be doctors in this country, but the government says we already have enough doctors. We don't want any more doctors. You can't be certified. You're not allowed to practice. We have certain areas. It varies by city and state that require certificate of need, which says investors come in. Hey, we want to build a new hospital. Okay, well, first you have to prove to us that we need a new hospital. So this whole flattening the curve thing is we don't have enough hospital beds. Well, there have been investors who have been going around the country trying to find places they can build more hospitals. We'd have more hospital beds, but the government has constantly told we don't need them right now. Right. We don't need them. You're not building anything. We need to get government out of the way. This isn't tax money. This isn't like, oh, we need to tax people to build more hospitals. This is people who have money and they're like, we want to build hospitals. And let them build hospitals. What's wrong with that?
Right. I apologize. You said, like you pointed out, it's that government red tape, the government walls that are preventing more innovation, more solutions for we the people to have access, cutting off, medical employees and furloughing them and supposedly
there's there to help
the time, So it's crazy to hear all of this misinformation. And it's a whole bunch of jargon, you know what I mean? So it's refreshing to hear someone as yourself say that they'll actually be truthful and transparent in providing this information. So
before we move on, I want to talk about transparency because that's another huge issue, right? The government comes along and says, well, we need to trust the experts. And then they bring out some experts. Well, those are their experts. And they tell us we just need to trust these. You know what they're telling us? They're telling us don't think for yourself. Don't learn anything on your own. Don't listen to any other experts. Only listen to our experts. Their experts don't know what they're doing. They don't know anything about this virus. Nobody knows anything about this virus. It's still very new. We haven't done any research, and they claim they have all the answers. But what they're doing is there are doctors, and not just doctors. There's a difference between doctors and researchers. The people at the hospital, most of them just know what they read in a book. You've got researchers who have been in labs and actually understand. They've done actual research on new things. They've tried new things. They've experimented. They're actual scientists. Those aren't just doctors. Those are the people we should be looking to. And a lot of these people are speaking out and saying that all the information or a lot of the information that we're getting about the coronavirus is absolutely wrong. And they're posting this stuff on places like YouTube and Twitter, and it's getting taken down, and Facebook, because they're censoring anything that goes against the narrative that's coming out of the White House. And this goes back to that point about transparency. They're absolutely not being transparent with us. There's a lot of information we don't know. There's a lot of research coming out that's conflicting with the official agenda, and they're not letting us have that information, or they're calling it, witchcraft or pseudoscience. So we need the government to say, hey, look, I mean, Trump is not a doctor, right? But he's telling us this is the doctor you should trust. Why? Why should we trust his choice in doctors or in scientists or anything? They
want to control the narrative. You know what I'm saying? They do have a political agenda. Right now, they're proving it to be more than anything that they just want to have more control over our day-to-day lives, how we produce for this country, and us getting rations from them, So it definitely needs to stop. And it's someone such as yourself that is running for president. I mean, you're a great guy. America it likes this masochism, you know what I mean? She likes a little S&M. She likes to, what is it? Smack me, choke me, pull my hair, that whole shit. So that's what America likes. So you're a nice guy. So are you the nice guy that, nobody likes? Because I like you, but like I said, America does like its bad guys, which is why somebody such as Trump has been elected president.
Yeah, absolutely. And, what's interesting is, people like good guys too, or the good guys who aren't necessarily following the rules, right? Like Batman, the vigilante. That's another stupid thing, right? Why is vigilanteism so bad?
Right.
It's like you're stopping crime. Oh, but the government has a monopoly on that. They don't want you doing their job because then they look irrelevant. They want us all to believe there. So this is why the government doesn't like vigilantes. But I would say I'm more aligned with that because I don't follow the laws myself. I follow what's right and what's wrong. And I don't want to encourage people to do this because it is a very complex system. I mean, you do have rights in this country, but you practically have to be a lawyer just to exercise them, which I absolutely hate, and that shouldn't be the case. But that's just my disclaimer of why you shouldn't do this. I don't have a driver's license. I haven't registered any cars in the past like 10 or more years. I'm running my campaign from Mexico. I don't pay a lot of taxes. I don't pay attention to the rules. I do what's right, what I believe in, what I think is right, what is ethical, what is best for me and everybody else, my friends, people who are on the same level as me. If you're in the government, I see that as just another big corporation that's trying to rip us off. And I don't care about you. I don't care about your rules. If you're trying to rob me, I'm not going to let that happen. Now, of course, there are completely different ways that we need to fight this as a society. We need to, first get everybody to wake up to the reality of that's what's going on. But I'm willing to put up a fight. And in my campaign, I've been running against some very like-minded people where I haven't had the need to fight them. But I guarantee you, if you put me on a stage with Donald Trump or Bernie Sanders or anybody else, I'm not going to let them come up with these idiotic plans and let them convince anybody in the audience that these are the right things. I will fight back on that. And that's really what's important. Now, of course, they're not going to let me do that. And what's even really interesting is you look at the mainstream media who has been completely ignoring the party that I'm running with. And they do this because they know the people running in this party are not part of this big two-party system, and they don't want to give up that control. In fact, there's a Justin Amash, who was a Republican until just a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago. He's now running against me in the Libertarian primary, and he is even avoiding everybody who's running at my level, even though he's coming into our party to try to take that title that we're also running for. Why? Because he's still part of that big two-party system. He's still part of the system that says, yeah, well, we should have a government that robs people, but we should just use that money for something else that I believe in.
Yeah, I mean, somebody such as Justin Amash or whatever his name is, he sees someone as such as your caliber. I hate to say it, but not as on his level. You know what I mean? He's already an established.
Yeah, because I'm not taking bribes, and I haven't kissed ass my way to the top like he has with all of these corrupt people that are running these huge monstrous two-party systems.
Yeah, well, not to mention you don't have this. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got all of that, and they want the millions of dollars. Because money controls politics, especially right. When it comes to a political campaign.
And that's another really good point, because how does he get all these big donations? First, he works with a big party, and that big party, sometimes it's a little bit easier just by saying I'm with these guys, but all of these guys, they sell favors, right? They're like, oh yeah, if you donate to this campaign, we're going to push this policy. It's going to be good for your business, good for your industry, good for this, good for that. It's going to be really bad for the general public, but it'll be good for your businesses. I don't have any special privileges to sell. I'm here fighting for the people, and because of that, I don't have big businesses that are willing to give me money. In fact, like if you'll even believe this, I've talked to hemp farmers and gun shop owners and all of these businesses that they're generally anti-government, right? Because the hemp farmers they've been trying to legalize hemp for the past 100 years. You've got gun owners who are we don't like the federal government telling us what guns we can own and all this other stuff. All of those people are against my platform. Why? because the hemp farmers, now that they've got it legal, now that they've spent all this money trying to make it legal, they want to make sure that they maintain a monopoly and that there's not, and that, you know, not everybody and their mom is starting to grow weed in their backyard to compete with them. They want to be able to make a lot of money with their business, and that can only happen if you have licenses and restrictions. Same with gun shop owners. They don't want you to be able to buy guns online, because if you buy guns online, I mean, think about this. All of the small mom and pop shops that used to sell TVs and stereos and everything, those are all gone. They've been replaced by like Target and Walmart and the giants. Why? And like, even those places, they're not even making their money back in retail sales. So a lot of it's going online. Why? Because you know which brands you want, you know what models you want. You can shop online 100 different stores without leaving your couch. It's easier and it's cheaper, and a lot of times you don't even pay sales tax. It's amazing. Why would you go to a store and buy it when you can buy it online? And so because of that, the gun shop owners are still holding on to that, because you can't buy guns online. Or if you do, you have to ship them to a local gun store. And if I repeal some of the laws that I want to repeal, you'll be able to have it shipped directly to your house, and the gun store is going to lose out on a lot of business. So there are a lot of special interests that absolutely hate my platform, because I'm trying to give people their rights back, and they want to protect their businesses and their profits. And I'm not for sale in that department.
Yeah, and a lot of candidates are. So they're selling out left and right, you know, and some of them are doing it underneath the table. You won't even know until, you know, financial quarter statements are released and all of this other, you know, bullshit. Right. So, yeah, I mean, with everybody jumping in the libertarian race last minute, trying to get in where they fit in, and feel like this is the only party where there actually has some footing and would be considered to be taken serious, where the duopoly has, misled the masses, and we can kind of get the country back on track through the Libertarian Party. And so with there being multiple candidates jumping in like Justin Amath and whoever else, I'm going to name others, you know, at a later date and time. But right now we want to talk about you. So why are you running for president? Why run for president? Why not run for something else where you got a better chance of winning, so they say, like, you know, city council or a lesser office? Why go straight for the goal for president?
This is actually, I have a lot of people on this team who just keep telling me, hey, you know what? President isn't a high enough office for you. Really, like what we've been doing with this, and you know, I ran for Texas House of Representatives back in 2014, and it was amazing. I touched a lot of people's lives. I really inspired them to get out and make a change and understand, you know, that the government is not on our side. It's under control from people who want to control us. And this message has just grown so far and wide that even now, like I'm working with people in Uganda right now to make sure that they have food to feed their families. Because if you think the shutdown in the United States is bad, it is so much worse over there. It's, you know, I don't want to get into the details, but it's terrible. And the point is that this message is being received worldwide, even though I'm just targeting the United States with this. I've been asked to appear on podcasts in Spain and Sweden, and Amsterdam and Australia, the UK, everywhere. I'm working with a lot of people in Uganda. I've been asked to come to speak in you know, countries all around the world. I've worked with and supported people in Hong Kong when they were going through their protests. We have a tremendous amount of support from around the world. So this is really a worldwide movement. So in the United States, this is the biggest we can get. You know, I would, if this wasn't a presidential year, I might run for governor of Texas or something similar to that. But this idea is not something that needs to just affect one city. This is an idea that the entire world needs to know about, because we cannot be under the belief that we have to be slaves to our own governments or to our government's economy. We need to understand that we're free people, and freedom comes from within. Real change comes from within. Once we realize that we are free, and once we demand to be treated like we're free and with respect, that's when we're going to see real change. We have to stop begging them, please, can we have a little bit more freedom? We need to stop that. Absolutely stop that. We need to tell them, no, we are free, and you better sit your ass down and stop treating us like slaves and stop treating us like your property and stop robbing us, because we're not going to take it anymore.
Exactly. Especially now, right now, we're going through a distressful situation here in America, and we need a little bit of backbone. You know what I'm saying? We need to stand up for our freedoms and liberties before they're gone forever. So it's very enlightening to hear someone such as yourself be brave enough and courageous enough to stand up and speak on behalf of we the people in such a way. And I mean, I truly wish you all of the best with your campaign. You know what I mean? I hope more people hear the message of taxation is theft. You should be a worldwide ambassador for that, regardless of the fact or regardless of what happens with this election here. So everybody in the world, if you hear of taxation is theft, if you heard of taxation is theft, that's because of this man right here, Dan Taxation is Theft Behrman. All right. Dan, if you would, please drop your information. Let the people out there know where they can find you and what they can do to help support your campaign.
Absolutely. So if you go to Behrman2020.com, BEHRMAN 2020.com, you'll see, you can contact me there. You'll see a lot more about the platform. There's a lot of really great information that you can learn from. There's links to all of my social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, YouTube. And if you go to the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/taxationistheft, there are a ton of videos there. I've got my own podcast where I interview a lot of people who are fighting for freedom in so many different ways. And of course, we have, how could I forget about this? Taxation is Theft Fest is coming up in about 2 or 3 weeks on May 17th and May 16th and 17th. It's going to be a 2-day long event of just so many people talking about so many different issues about how to be free, how to be independent, how to learn and build yourself, build your life, make yourself more valuable to your home and your community and your family. That's really what we should all be doing, because we shouldn't be, we shouldn't be spending most of our lives working for these corporations and being treated like crap, when we could be doing so much better by putting that effort into our own communities, building our own homes and families, and keeping everything local. We can do so much more. We can live so much better lives. And that's really what this Taxation is Theft Fest is about. So check that out also. And yeah, I think that's about it.
All right, wonderful. Yeah, you guys be sure to tune into the Taxation is Theft Festival. You might see some guest appearances, you know what I'm saying?
That's right.
But please be sure to visit his website, find out more about Dan. Taxation is Theft Behrman. You can Google him. Shit, I mean, if you get lazy and just, don't want to find out the information about his website by just going there, like he said, just Google the man and do your own research and find out more.
And look for the big yellow hat.
Yeah, look for the big yellow hat. That is a beautiful hat. And I like the one that you're wearing right now. It definitely conveys the message that we the people need to be hearing right now more than ever. Taxation is theft. No more taxes. No more income tax. They don't want us to work anyway. It's not essential. Don't let our damn income be taxed any longer, since it's not essential. Okay. That I like hearing that. So I'm going to get out of here really quickly. I do appreciate you for jumping into the room here. And before I go, I just want to let any and all of you know out there to please do what you can to help support these libertarian candidates, because they don't get much publicity. So if you like any of what Dan Taxation is Theft has said, please share his information. Please share this interview. And of course, be sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. You know what I'm saying? And so we can keep this whole, informational revolution going. Please be sure to support. Dan needs the support. I'm pretty sure you need the support right now so you can win for president, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely wonderful. So get a man some money, donate whatever you can, no matter how little bit that you have. It goes a long way, trust me. And also, of course, if you would mind donating to yours truly, so we can keep this production going and keeping more esteemed guests such as Mr. Dan Behrman coming on, presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party. So thank you again, Dan, for coming on the show. And to all of you out there for tuning in to Black Side of Liberty, please be sure to tune in the next episode. this Saturday, okay, I'm going to have another presidential candidate on, Ken Armstrong. Can you believe that? We're going to keep this going and keep you guys informed about what's going on here on the underground. And till next time, you guys, long live liberty. Peace.